To go back to a point you're saying of just get out there and try, the reality of it is no matter what business or sector or whatever you're trying to do, mistakes happen, no's come, and roadblocks come. So the reason why I say start early is because the earlier you get that outing, build a tough skin toward that part, you're able to handle it now. So now I guess I still get no's to this day on things or brands.
Definitely.
But you're on to the next one and so quickly. As when I see new people get in the sector, if they get a no or they had a met, it hits them. Like it almost stops them from keeping going because it impacts them. But when you've been doing it for a while and you know how it goes, the no's are the people who don't believe in you and the people who criticize, and it's kind of like you're not even mad anymore. You just understand that's part of that's part of the world of the game. So you move forward. People ask for more. I think for us, put there is systemic racism is still one of the biggest things that we face in terms of all institutions that you can see this, and you see what's happening in the world right now. Even the work that was done over it's quickly how quickly they can erase it or try to roll it back. We do all this work, and as soon as they, a different group or dominant group feels like, oh, nope, it's rolled back in months. So I would say that's still the dominant one, high level of facing systemic racism, anti-black racism in systems where we need to come together to hold the ground and move forward.
Join us on BCCTV for a new series titled Community Circle. It's diversity, resilience, and the spirit of community.
Who has inspired you and why their story is important.
Person is supposed to be sitting in the bus and have a white person.
I think that you should say that because I'm thinking of Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
Welcome to Community Circle. Hello viewers, how are you all doing today? My name is Ukela Prince and I'm glad to welcome you to the Community Cycle. Today is a very beautiful day and I have a very special guest with me here in the studio. My guest is Christopher Thompson. Christopher Thompson is a passionate leader who has a desire to empower others and give back to the community. He currently serves as the Executive Director of the Federation of Black Canadians, a national non-profit organization with over 13 employees across Canada that advances the social, economic, political, and cultural interests of Canadians of African descent. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to welcome my own friend here, Christopher Thompson. Christopher, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Nice having you in the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
Interesting. So we are thrilled having you here today in the studio.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
No problem.
Thank you for coming. And great job you're doing in the community. Okay, so it's simple today, and we want to delve into a little in what you do, what you're doing as a community leader. I want to share in your personal story and your motivation. So first and foremost, maybe there are one or two things possibly I've not said about you. You want our viewers to know about you. You can take liberty right now.
All right, no problem. Well, second-generation Canadian. My parents are from Jamaica, so they came over here and settled with me and my brother. And then I got into community engagement really through my dad. My dad is a minister. Grew up in that, so I grew up with him, connecting people, bringing people to the Word, and it kind of caught me later on. Not so much younger when I was in the church, but saw it. But then I went off to school and I caught the bug for helping people and kind of bringing people together. And I always wanted to give back to youth and my community, and it kind of started from there.
Interesting. So the way I'm looking at you, you're also going to be a minister. He did say amen to that.
Amen.
Yeah, he said amen. So that's right. So, okay, quickly, can you share with us what inspired you to become a passionate leader?
Okay.
And an advocate for the African Canadian community?
Well, number one, passionate leader. I think I get that from mentors, people who came before me, elders and others who have come before me to see the need to pass things on and support our community. So that's how my passion started. I think from my dad's my number one person who passed things on to me. But then as I was fortunate enough to go to university, see passionate leaders in the student movement, in governance, and then I worked in United Way. I had several passionate leaders who were giving back to the community, and I worked for the CEOs and vice presidents. I saw the ability to mobilize and do community building. And then that fostered me to want to do it as well while I work, but find my own niche in it as well. And so it brought me to Skills for Life, which was first a community initiative for youth development to give back and bridge the gap between hard skills and soft skills learned in the classroom. So my niche, I've always loved working with youth. And then wanted to give back in my community, meeting a gentleman by the name of Justice Donald McLeod, Ontario Court Justice Judge. He brought me into the fold further into the Black community as I was already in there, and brought me to new initiatives that could possibly be the Federation of Black Canadian. It was before it was it, but then it became the Federation of Black Canadians, and then that's how I got in.
Wow. At what point did you really realize that this is the path you need to tour?
I was at university for sure. University, I fortunately went to university because some people believed in me. I played a lot of sports, but then people said you could go off and do other things. So I went. I honestly found myself in the gym. Not much. I should have done better in my first year, but I was in the gym. But through talking to people and communicating, networking, I found out there was opportunities to, number one, engage my community. But at the time, it was also, I needed to get a job too. So it was in the student movement where I could rally youth and students to have school spirit, come to events, and then I could also get paid a little bit to pay for school. During that, I caught a bug for hearing the student issues and what was going on and how you can affect that through lobbying or governance or work. And one thing led to another, and before you know it, I was president of the U of T Students Union, and then I moved on to the Alumni Association, then U of T's Young Alumni Union, and then it kind of spiraled, and then I was running my own organization. So that's the short story, is that I got pulled in from just being able to talk and network, seeing what made things work, where people needed help. And I found myself loving to be around people, support, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew, and I learned as I went.
I don't know why I'm feeling like I will be seeing you in the polls sometime. I don't know. Does it sound true?
For now, I might get asked that a lot, but for now, I just like to give back and like to support the community where I can.
Yeah, you're also giving back through politics, right? Politicians say they're giving back.
I studied politics in school.
In school, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know why I'm seeing you as a politician, someone who will be going for an office very soon. I don't know. You never give it a thought?
For me right now, it comes up, but for me right now, my major priority is supporting Black community, and sometimes you can do some things a little bit outside of that than in it, but you never know down the road. We'll see what happens.
Well, I've always heard that, and I've seen people turn around and...
wherever I can make a biggest impact, if that's where the calling is, and that's where the calling, but it's, I think great leadership has come because you're called to do something, but people are need, not so much you wanting it, but it's because it's needed and you answer the call. So
interesting.
If that happens, that happens.
Now tell me, as the executive director of the Federation of Black Canadians, what are some of the key initiatives and programs you are currently working on to advance the interest of Canadians of Black or African descent?
So how I like to sum it up is we're in 4 pillars. Some people call it broad. For us, we call it making sure we're helping Black Canadians where we can. So there's health, there's lifelong learning, education, there's justice, and then there's also civic engagement and job creation. So we do program services and advocacy in all of those areas. And our predominantly, I'd say the flagship programs we have right now is our youth engagement across Canada through something called the Student Support for Learning Program. Holistic learning for youth to help them see themselves in greater careers or greater possibilities after high school. We provide life skills, training, mentorship, and also bursaries, $1,000 to $4,000. We've given out over $150,000 across Canada, and that spurred into an advancement of a program called Youth Employment Social Service Program. So what we do with that is not only are we able to do job training, and it's job training that's paid. So the youth will be paid for this. We're also able to find employers that can employ them, and we'll help support, cushion them in as we'll pay the first 6 to 8 weeks. So we're helping youth learn job skills, and then we're helping to place them, and we're also helping with the payment to allow that youth to get paid work experience as well. So I'll say that's a huge one. And the final one would be the Black Entrepreneurship Program, which is we're supporting those who are either transitioning in or new on entrepreneurs. We allow them to get, again, a 6-week course of training online from various topics, from fundraising, finance, marketing, building an MVP, they're able to join what we call our pitch competitions and training, and able to pitch us. Remember, we're $5,000 to $10,000, and we're happy to say we gave over $200,000 to over 150 people or businesses across Canada last year. So those are probably our flagships that we're most known for. But advocacy, health research, we do those as well.
Well, I want you to tell me about the Skills for Life.
Yep.
Skills for Life, that's the charity you founded in 2016.
Correct.
So what inspired you to start this organization?
The biggest...
What kind of impact has it had on the community?
I was literally inspired to do that from, number one, I think the biggest thing was realizing that even though I went off to post-secondary and stuff, realizing I wasn't the smart, my GPA was not the highest by any means necessary, and I wasn't the smartest in the room, but I found over years I was able to keep scaling. My career was moving forward after I graduated, and I tapped. Why was that? To be honest with you, it's because I honed in on what I call, or many call, life skills or soft skills. I realized that doing things like understanding networking, financial literacy, self-esteem building. I base my things in something called SMART goal setting. These were something that anybody could do, no matter their economic status or background or anything, is what they could do within themselves. So what actually happened is I was doing workshops. The university asked me to help acclimate first years or people moving into the real world. So while doing these workshops, people asked for more. Youth, parents, schools, they would ask for more. And I had a background from United Way of understanding granting and community development. So after a while, again, life skills, you're seeing patterns, you're seeing things move. You're like, wait, maybe there's something here. So I thought maybe I can give back. So I started Skills for Life, just volunteering between work and stuff. I'd go do school sessions, come back, and it was just me running around until I identified I could apply for grants, and slowly but surely build capacity. And now we have a 8-person team. I have 6 full-time and 2 part-time working with me now, so I can just do more strategic. And I brought that same passion to FBC, and we have about 13 there. So altogether, I oversee about 22 staff now, and just now doing strategic planning and training and developing. So all the skills I had, I passed them on to my staff, and we kind of roll from there.
With 14 years of experience in community engagement and grassroots organization capacity building,
yes.
What advice would you give to emerging leaders and organizations looking to make a difference in their community?
The number one thing I'd say is you need to explore. I think that was key for me. I was fortunate to have some great mentors, and when I always talk about mentors, it's not formal one-on-one like I'm sitting with you. It was just I identified there were people in my spaces that had doing great work or skill sets or traits that I could rub off, and I watched and I learned.
It's more like role models, right?
Yeah, role models. So I'd say the people coming up is listen and learn, number one, and get out there and explore. A lot of things, what I hear is people didn't know this, or I didn't realize I could do this, or I didn't know these things existed. Well, to be honest with you, I'm so glad my dad taught me different from that. And my dad taught me that, hey, if you want something, go out and get it or find it.
That's right.
So once I got to post-secondary, I treated that like a city. So it's like, if I didn't know it, here's what he would say. If you didn't know something, did you have the ability to know? Did you have the ability to find out? Whether it's by Googling, asking, or going. And if you could have done that, he wouldn't give you any pity. You should have found out. So that's how I learned the hard way. And so because of that mentality, I went and I learned how to do grant. I had no money, so I had to learn how to do it. I had to learn where leaders were. I had to learn how the work works, and that's how I went about it. So I would inspire people to get out there and learn. You're gonna mess up a lot, so the earlier you start doing it, I got that out of my system in my early 20s because of the stuff I did. So now people ask me, how can you manage all these staff now? It's because to be honest with you, I did all my mess ups when I was between 20 and 24, and so now. Now when I have staff, I now know what to do and not to do already, so I can minimize my mistakes a little bit. But never too late. Start anytime you can, but just get out there and explore and try. That's what I'd say.
Get out there, explore and try. On that note, we'll be going on a short break. We'll be right back.
This is Community Circle.
Welcome to Black Community Television. From Canada to the world, dive into a world of vibrant culture, powerful stories, and inspiring forces with Black Community Television. From thought-provoking documentaries to engaging talk shows, quality news, we celebrate the diversity and richness of the Black experience. So tune in for insightful discussions, captivating entertainment, and a platform where our community's voices are heard and celebrated. Join us on a journey of empowerment, education, and entertainment. Subscribe now and be a part of the conversation. This is Black Community Canada Television, bringing the world together, fostering peace.
This is Community Circle.
All right, welcome back. This is still the Community Circle, and my name remains Ukela Prince, and I still have here my beloved brother and friend, Christopher Thompson. Christopher, the man is, is actually releasing quite a lot, and I think he's so inspiring. Chris, thank you for the great job you're doing. Thank you. Before we know, maybe before the end of the year, the staff strength would have risen, maybe doubled, right? Because one thing that is key that I think is important and worthy of note is the fact that he said you made all the mess, within those early period and all that. So now all that process made you stronger. 100%. You can make right decisions and also note the things that you don't need to do. Mm-hmm. And that's actually very, very, very beautiful to hear. 100%. So in other words, you also said it's important that you start early, and that you also mentioned the fact that it doesn't matter where you are right now, you can start wherever 100%. You are. And I think that's key, and it's worthy to note. So let me ask you, can you walk us through your process of developing grassroots organizations from scratch, and what strategies you've used to help them achieve significant growth and success?
Okay, so great. Large question there, because it takes a long time. But I'd say, to go back to a point you were saying of just get out there and try, the reality of it is, no matter what business or sector or whatever you're trying to do, mistakes happen, no's come, and roadblocks come. So the reason why I say start early is because the earlier you get that outing, build a tough skin toward that part, you're able to handle it now. That's so now, right. I guess I still get no's to this day on things or grants.
Definitely.
But you're on to the next one, and so quickly. As when I see new people get in the sector, if they get a no or they had it hits them. Like it almost stops them from keeping going
that's right.
because it impacts them. But when you've been doing it for a while and you know how it goes, the no's are the people who don't believe in you and the people who criticize, and it's kind of like you're not even mad anymore. You just understand that's part of that's part of the world of the game. So you move forward. Same thing goes for organizations starting up. But I'll say what I'll tell them is, what I find, and that, I'm going to speak very candidly here, and I've been doing this for a while. So the non-for-profit is there for a reason. It's to give back. It's a community need and support. But often when I am incubating groups now, I have to tell them that, hey, it is also a business. So it's not a business to make as much money as you want, but there are principles or structures that are needed if you want to scale. If you just want to do an initiative or have a picnic or have an event once in a while, so be it. Just do your one thing and do it. But if you're sitting with me and you tell me, I want to scale this, I want to make impact over years and years, so then you have to couple, which is great, I love it while I'm in the sector, the passion to help, the passion to do good, with some business principles. And now you have two options. You either are in a position where you can pay somebody to do these parts for you, or like most of us, you gotta pull up your bootstraps, learn it yourself, or find a team to help. And so I was one of those who had to learn. So the first thing I tell people is you have to treat your initiative with some business standards, not to make money, but practices. So easily I tell people, if you're gonna go do even a one-day event, picnic, did you keep all the receipts? Did you label these things? Did you keep it if you need it for an audit, you could find it and give it easily.
I agree.
If you did an event and you had 50 people there, do you have metrics on those people?
That's right.
Did you get a survey? Do you know who came? Are these information? Because, gone are the days where you can just go and say, hey, I'm doing great work. And they're like, oh, really great work? Here's money. No, where's the data? How does it connect? How does it grow? So while that can consist of some barriers, I advocate against it. I work with big funders and government and try to tell them, well, hey, you can't do certain things because it stops some groups from being able to enter. But I also go to the groups and I have to be hard. Hey, there's something, you can't do all these, tell me you did 10 events in a year and you have nothing, you'll have pictures. That's all you have, pictures. There's no data, there's no paper trail, you can't do anything. So the first thing I say, what I taught myself, was to treat it like it's a big organization. So when I started Skills for Life, I had 5 expenses a month. That's it, nothing big, right? But he could tell me those things were labeled. I knew what happened, I could find it. And what happened twofold. When you get big enough, maybe there's opportunity to get reimbursed for all those things you did beforehand.
That's
Because
right.
often I hear it all the time, I put 10,000, 20,000 into this. Okay,
But
where's the
no
data?
substance.
Oh, I don't have it all. You know, or you get to a point where a funder, somebody sees the work, or even an investor, but now they're going to ask for the data on it. So you might have done great work, but if you can't use business principles, and remember, I'm not talking about the greedy ones. I'm talking about just the standard ones that keep things in order.
That's right.
If you're not able to express those, what happens to you is the opportunities bypass you. So for instance, I'll give you a simple one. I didn't really know what I was doing when I was starting Skills for Life and stuff, but I knew that if I put up a donation button, people could donate. And, likewise, over time, people donate. And then, something happened, a huge thing happened in the world. God rest his soul, George Floyd. But when that initiative happened, people were looking for a place to donate. So I use it as an example, not all the best people may agree or not, but just the simple fact that I had the business principle of having a place to donate, money came in. So that's just one example of just being prepared for opportunity.
That's right.
So people ask me, why do I need to put all these things in order? I'm just this, well, it depends. If you're trying to scale, you don't know when that scale opportunity is going to come around.
Yeah.
So would you want a funder to say, I have 10 days and you have to go dig it all up? Or would you want to say a funder's here, 10 days, only 10K, and here's the receipts, here's my impact, here's my report, even though you didn't need it. No one told you needed it because you were just doing it to give back.
That's
but
right.
because you already had it ready, you already put yourself at the top of the list. So I would start right there. Are you treating this initiative with some business practices, or is it just initiative? Because two different things you're coming to talk to me about.
That's right. So what that reminds me is the principle of preparation meeting opportunity.
There you go.
Which is equals to success.
Exactly.
And I think that's key. That's key, and it's key. Okay. As a consultant, a founder of Chris Consulting Group. When I hear group, my mind just, quite a lot is in it. So, what kind of services do you offer? Because a lot of people want to know this. So let's get that explicitly to the people. What kind of services do you offer to non-profit organizations? And how do you help them achieve their goals?
There you go. So everything I do starts from what I know. So it's a one-stop shop. Basically what we're doing is exactly what I'm summing up, is helping people build their initiative from, if they need it from concept to incorporation, or if it's to scale or sustainability, or it could be project-based initiative. So basically it's one-stop shop for non-for-profit, those who want to get in that sector. And what I am doing is bridging your passion and maybe what you're doing with new age solutions. So maybe implementing some new things that can help you be more efficient. Or, if I'm very honest, I work a lot with the community and Black community and marginalized groups bringing up. It is usually they need the business parts of what I'm talking about. They can see a need, they're in the impact, and it's great you're there, but you have to balance it with some practices, and usually that's what I'm bringing them, templates or structure for them to help build. And so scaling, whether it's grants, whether it's branding, whether it's systems in place or governance.
Interesting. Now, from your experience, what do you believe are some of the most pressing issues facing the African Canadian community today? How do you think organizations like the Federation of Black Canadians can address these challenges?
Most pressing. That's a lot of, I would say, there's a lot, but I would say the biggest thing I think for us put there is, systemic racism is still one of the biggest things that we face in terms of all institutions that you can see this, and you see what's happening in the world right now. Even the work that was done it's how quickly they can erase it or try to roll it back. We do all this work, and as soon as they, a different group or dominant group feels like, oh, nope, it's rolled back in months. So I would say that's still the dominant one, high level of facing systemic racism, anti-Black racism in systems where we need to come together to hold the ground and move forward. But more practical sense, I still think, when it comes to, things like housing or things like safe spaces, those are still where we're predominantly need to work together. On the economic front, being able to own, I think a huge thing is Black community. I love seeing all the initiatives and everything happening, but I am one that I'm trying to get us into ownership. Ownership and things like that. It's something, I won't go into the deeps here, but you see some things where the Black community is the dominant users or customers. And then I always look back, I get past how much of it do we own? And it hurts me most of the time when I look, because we either own nothing or a small fraction, and we know that the black community is so strong with this, and we set trends all over this world. But how much of it do we own? Not much. So at least when I'm working in the non-for-profit sector, I think what we need to do is still come together, rally, a lot of lobbying for funding, long-term funding, but there's also a need for some groups to maybe come together and build on a stronger ground than separated. And that's a hot topic in itself. If you tell two groups to amalgamate together, that can be a difficult conversation.
I agree.
But you know, I think it could help in the non-for-profit sector for us to build capacity as well.
Awesome. You know, our time is already almost up. But before I let you go, I wouldn't want to lose this because I think it's important and very pertinent. Looking back on your career and accomplishments, what do you hope your legacy will be?
Legacy.
How do you want to be remembered as a leader and advocate for African Canadian community?
I'll tell you what I tell my staff and what I learned through doing this work, that my major goal is to amplify. I think there's so many amazing things happening in the black community across Canada, over here in Ontario, even Brampton, or even across Canada. So I'd want to be known for amplifying the work of black community across Canada, trying to bring connection where I can. There's always people who still don't know, and there's always people I can't reach, but if there's anything the legacy leaves is that, you know, I was somebody trying to build awareness and amplify. It wasn't always about creating something new, while I have, but usually I use these platforms to see, hey, can I get you noticed? Can I get this group noticed? So amplifying work, bringing people together, giving young people opportunity. My most passionate, I wrote it down on paper that I wanted to give jobs when I was 22. And I've been able to employ over 40 plus youth and see some of them buy houses, some of them do different things. So being able to give opportunity, I think is something I'd want to be known for.
Well, Christopher Thompson, thank you so much for for coming. I think it's been a beautiful time with you this very day.
No problem.
Yeah. So any last words you want to leave for your viewers?
All I would tell everybody is to continue to explore, you know, get out and join different things, watch this television, watch anything you can to learn, and, you know, never too late to start. Start right now.
Never too late to start. Start right now. Thank you so much, viewers, for being part of this edition on the Community Circle. My name is Ukela Prince. I look forward to seeing you some other time. Cheers.
Thank you.
This is Community Circle.